Today, we are getting hands-on with the new Tudor Black Bay 54 Lagoon Blue. We're talking about the pros, the cons, and if I would buy this model. Welcome back to the Chisholm Hunter channel. My name is Harrison, as always. And as promised in my last first impressions video, that does not sound right. My last video that I did on this watch, my first impressions video on this watch, I now have it in the studio and I've been wearing it for around about a week. So I've managed to get to grips with how it looks, feels, and some intricate details that you can only really see from getting this watch on. Right, so let's begin quickly with the history behind the Black Bay 54. So the Black Bay 54 directly draws its inspiration from the Oyster Prince Submariner reference 7922. Specifically, you can see these features coming through when you look at the second hand. So it has a lollipop second hand. The crown is pretty identical. It's quite close to the case. And also on the bezel, you can see that it has a white arrow instead of the Black Bay 58 red arrow. And since its release in 2023, they haven't really done much with this range. I mean, they have a black dial rubber strap and the same black dial with just the bracelet, the Oyster bracelet that we kind of know from the Tudor Black Bay Heritage line. So this line or this range was due an injection of spice, and I think they've definitely done that with this model. The new Black Bay 54 Lagoon Blue comes in at exactly the same spec sheet, if you want to call it that, pretty much as the old 54. It comes in at 37 millimeters in diameter, 11.2 millimeters in thickness, so it is beautifully thin, and you can definitely tell this when it's on the wrist. It looks great. It sits so closely, and it slides under the cuff perfectly. It comes in at 46 millimeters lug to lug, and you do have a 20 millimeter lug width. It comes in full stainless steel, including the bezel, which we'll move on to in a second, and it also comes with a brand new, well, technically not brand new, but brand new for the 54, a 5-link bracelet. The bracelet on this model is super classy and super good. It has a very slight taper to it. The links down the middle are polished and the links on the outer two sides are in brushed. It also has a T-fit clasp at the bottom, which works wonderfully, and we kind of know to expect this from the Tudor Black Bay range now. It's been circulating for a good couple of years, and it is such a huge upgrade in comparison to the old clasp and the old bracelet that they used to have. I actually have the Tudor Black Bay Heritage ETA, which has all the old stuff, the vintage stuff if you want to call it that, and this is just a humongous upgrade. This watch is still waterproof to 200 meters. It has domed sapphire crystal glass, which gives it that little bit more of a vintage feel, and it does have a screw down crown to allow that waterproofness. And now we move on to that brand new bezel. So that highly polished bezel. It is absolutely gorgeous. I often say that the stainless steel bezels are a dying breed in the industry. And I feel like stainless steel bezels offer a cleanliness to a watch that you just can't get with ceramic or an aluminium disc insert. So I do love this point of difference, and I love how bright and airy it makes this watch feel. It is absolutely gorgeous. Now, it is in really highly polished metal, so it is a reflection magnet. It picks up any light that is close to it, and it actually was really difficult to film. Now, on the flip side, you do have the fact that this watch will scratch very easily, but to me, that's not so much of an issue. I think scratches tell stories. They're battle scars on your watch from putting them through their paces. So to me, it's not a huge deal, but I understand that a lot of people might be upset and kind of anxious over the fact that it would scratch that little bit easier. And now we get to the face of this watch, and the face is absolutely gorgeous. It has a sand-blasted, textured, beautiful lagoon blue is what they're calling it, but it's essentially just light blue dial, and it works perfectly with everything else on this dial. Interestingly enough, when you look at the Tudor text at the 12 o'clock mark, it actually isn't in full black, and it has that kind of silvery hue, texture, and color and vibe to it. Now, the second hand, as well as the minute and the hour marker, are all in silver, and a lot of people might argue that this makes it a little bit harder to read. And they would be correct. But at the same time, I do feel that this watch feeds more into the dressy category rather than the sports category. I feel like it still has the sports functionality, which is brilliant, and Tudor always do that brilliantly. But I think if you're getting this watch, you're not going to be wearing it diving. I mean, this is more of a dressy sports watch if you want to categorize it like that. Now, when you're talking about the face of this watch, something that you might know that's a difference to the previous Black Bay 54 is the coating around the hour markers is in silver instead of gold, and also the minute track around the outside, instead of being that gold, more vintagey color that's on the previous iteration of the 54, this is now black. The hour markers are big and bold and filled with superluminova, and the superluminova is bright in the dark. It's actually one of the brightest superluminovas that I've seen from the Tudor Black Bay range. It is unbelievable, and we'll move on to that in a second when we talk about a couple of the pros, because it is definitely a huge one. The movement in this model behind the closed caseback remains unchanged from the previous model. It is the caliber MT5400, and this is fully COSC certified. It's fully self-winding, so it's automatic. It has a bidirectional rotor system, and it has 70 hours of power. All right, so we've covered a lot of the history, we've covered a lot of the specs. Let's go on to the pros and cons and my observations over the last week-ish wearing this model. Guys, before I go any further with the pros and cons, and you're definitely going to want to hear that because there's some interesting stuff in there, specifically about the lume. Let me know what you guys think of this new release in the comments. Am I getting dragged into the hype? I don't know. I don't think I am. I think this is new. I think this is fresh. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think of this release. So firstly, let's start with the pros. This is one of the ultimate dress watches from Tudor. Tudor is a classically sporty brand. A lot of the watches that are the best sellers from Tudor are a lot more sporty, but this is a brilliant dress piece. The dial texture is absolutely out of this world. I love how it looks in light. I love how that feeds in to the stainless steel bezel looking bright and airy. It has that kind of metallic hue throughout the dial, and it just looks beautiful. I would say that this is on par with Grand Seiko's dials. And Grand Seiko, as we all know in the industry, are the king of dials. But when Tudor put their mind to something, we all know that they execute it perfectly. And next up on the pros list, we have the lume light, or the light lume. I'm going to make up a new term here because I don't think there is one in the industry yet. It's essentially the way that the lume looks when it's light outside. And this watch is unreal for it. The lume is so bright that even when it's light outside, even when it's really bright in a room like this, you can still see the lume shining through. It's some of the brightest that I've ever seen. It is absolutely gorgeous. The next pro that I'm going to gloss over because I've kind of talked about it already is the bracelet, and then the one after that is the bezel. The bezel gives it such a unique look. It gives it such a bright feel, and it's just absolutely beautiful. As I said, a dying breed in the industry, and I'm super glad that they went with this. And finally, we get to the fact that it's only £140 more expensive than the previous iteration of the Tudor Black Bay 54. That's with an upgraded bracelet, that's with that new stainless steel, highly polished bezel, and a couple more tweaks that you can see on this model. And actually, when you look at the big picture here, that's not that big a price jump, and I think that's kind of justified. And now we get to the cons. The first con is that this is just slightly too small for me. I would love to see this in 38 or 39 millimeters, just a little bit bigger, a little bit more chunky, and it would be honestly almost perfect. So yeah, just that touch too small for me. That's one of the cons for sure. I have 6.5-inch wrists, and it's just off. The next con, and I suppose this is one that you could say with any dress watch, is the fact that it will scratch more. Now, I have a Grand Seiko sitting upstairs. It's my dressy watch, and it is covered in scratches because it's highly polished. If you're buying a dress watch, I feel like scratches just come with the territory. So I think that's kind of up to you. It's not that big an issue to me, but I know that a lot of people do get stressed about that. So potentially it is a con. So would I buy this watch? Honestly, the answer isn't what you think. The answer is no, but only for the reason that I really want the Tudor Black Bay Pro Polar Dial. I've been obsessed with that watch ever since Watches and Wonders. And actually, If I had an open to buy, I probably would buy this watch. I love the fact that it's so different from anything else in Tudor's arsenal. Tudor tend to not go with hype colors. They tend to not go with big, bold releases like this. They're kind of a little bit more discreet, a little bit more understated. This to me is just something so different and so fresh that I really do like it. I can kind of glaze over the sizing issue because of how beautiful and different it is. But yeah, at the moment as it stands, I really want a Tudor Black Bay Pro, so I wouldn't get this watch at the moment. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please consider hitting that subscribe button or follow my Instagram at Chisholm Hunter Watches or my personal Instagram at HB Lifelens or the podcast, the Into the Mind podcast. And I'll see you guys real soon.